As the hedge fund industry continues to recover from the 2008-2009 period, there are some developments also taking place on the technology side of it, and what hedge funds are, how they're looking at technology, what they're able to do with it these days, and the infrastructure side. So we're going to talk some about that today. Joining me to talk about that is Gurvinder Singh, CEO of Indus Valley Partners Cosmos Technologies. Gurvinder, thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So yeah, first of all, we were talking about kind of the best of breed technology as it relates to hedge funds and kind of how they're viewing technology and what they're able to do with it nowadays. So if we start out there, can you tell us kind of how their view of technology is changing and evolving at this point?
Sure. I think the hedge fund technology infrastructure or landscape has gone up, what I would call a sea change over the last 3 years, three to 5 years. We've been in this industry 10 years now, and the typical model for a hedge fund when it got started was, the question I used to get asked a lot was, Gurvinder, tell me the best system that I can buy once, and then I'm done. So
one system overall that can do everything I need.
Yeah, it's like the Lord of the Rings, the One Ring, and I call it the silver bullet system. And unfortunately, experience shows that such a system doesn't exist. Typically, the fund managers never found out about it until their fund changed colors. So you start as a long-short fund, 2-3 years, you build your track record, you buy a system, which promised you, we cover every asset type. 2 years later, you go into credit, or you go into bank debt, and suddenly you find it doesn't do anything in that space.
Right.
And then at that point, you actually have a pretty massive technical problem because all your flows are hardwired to that one system.
Okay.
And I think, coming back to the original point, what we have seen over the last 3 to 5 years is there's growing maturity in the tool sets available for hedge fund industry. You can actually buy systems for specific functions, like security masters, like pricing tools, and then you can actually put them together, and to build a operating platform for your hedge fund. And internally, we call it, and with our clients, we call it degrees of freedom. How important it is to build certain degrees of freedom in your hedge fund infrastructure. 5 years back, I would say it was not even viable for us to recommend an architecture like this because there just weren't tool sets available.
Okay.
But I think now a smart hedge fund can really go out and buy a set of specific tools and then put them together and really have a very flexible operating platform, and which allows the front office to keep changing colors easily.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty important.
And is it difficult when they're buying these different parts and sort of putting them together, as you say? Is it difficult on an integration, to get those to work together as they shift, or is that part of the development here that has become less of a problem?
I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, so to speak. The integration has been a problem in the past, but I think if you do the analysis upfront carefully, and you actually test the integration points, and you actually do dry runs before you sign the big checks to all these people, you're in a much stronger, better position.
Okay.
And having navigated a number of funds through these processes over the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years, we've actually got a fair amount of best practices around that, that we've been able to share with clients. But I think the key really is when you're going through a thought process like this, is recognizing first that a silver bullet doesn't exist. And often the first time fund manager just doesn't recognize that because they have this lovely sales guy, who's their best buddy, at least for those 6 months, promising them everything, and they're like, hey, that's so many less things for me to worry. I need investors, I need to hire a team, and so on.
Right. Now, by the same token, that first-time hedge fund manager, however, has less financial resources to devote to technology. So I mean, what would you recommend for that manager? Because I guess they're going to start out with one strategy so they can get a system for their particular strategy, and then as they build the assets and the history, then they can kind of bolt on from there. Is that sort of the model that you would see?
I would say, you're absolutely right. I mean, a first-time manager is not going to build a best-of-breed platform day one, but I think there are things they can do, and we're actually seeing a lot of evidence of that, where a lot of first-time managers are calling us and saying, hey, I need a warehouse. And now the warehouse is almost, for a fund manager, it's a catch-all for everything. It should do my security master, it should do my pricing, it should aggregate risk, and a well-designed warehouse will do all of that.
Okay.
So I think what is happening is they instinctively know that they need to control their reporting.
Right.
And they know, okay, warehouse is a technology term. When I tell a tech person, allows me to do that.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of first-time managers at least going for warehouses and then putting in the other pieces as they get bigger.
Okay.
And which I think is a smarter strategy,
right.
because you're actually hedging yourself away from any key vendor risk. You're set up better to deal with multiple primes, multiple PBs, multiple custodians, and so on.
Okay.
So it's a better foundation longer term.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you very much. So, for hedge fund managers, kind of hedging your own operational risk, if you will, and doing some due diligence on the technology side, and then integrating different platforms to give you the maximum flexibility. So again, I'm joined by Gurvinder Singh, CEO of Indus Valley Partners Cosmos Technologies. My name is Greg Crawford. I'm the editor of Tab Forum. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.